Well, it's a bit of a windy day, very rainy day. It's been raining all morning, so I've come out between the rain showers to have a look. There is one brave soul out there coming in. Ah dear, I don't know what drove him to be out in a day like this. He just must have had no shelter where he was. My other little surprise today has been two dogs that have just appeared out of nowhere. Turned out their owner was walking along the rock ledges just behind me. But it hasn't been a good week for sailing. These storms have been rolling in all week long and they're continuing to do so. And so we're hoping for better weather at the weekend, but that means it won't be out in time for the video. You do get these videos fairly much in real time at the minute. I'm obviously recording today, no brainer. And this will be in the video that you'll be watching tomorrow, which will be your today, if you get what I mean. And I've come out for a walk to the end of what used to be like an old harbour area called the Long Hole. And yeah, it's not really a day you'd want to be out there if you could avoid it. Well, to be honest, I can see the next rainstorm coming in. And although I've got my jacket on, I don't have my salopettes on, so I'm not really prepared for foul weather. I think I'm going to do what that boat's doing and go back in. And what we'll do is we'll talk about some of the follow-ups from our little exercise last week. Well, I think I've just about made it back in time, to be honest. It sounds like it's all kicking off again. Wind's picking up, rain's coming down. Boats are bouncing around. That boat we saw coming in is a 42 foot, as you know, and I think he's just gone onto the fuel dock because it's the easiest place to go. I'm sure he'll get himself sorted out. The marina staff will help him with nothing else. What a day. Time for the kettle.
Well, for a bit of variety, we're on my side of the boat this week, only because for once in its life it's tidy.
Yeah, it is a bit rare, isn't it?
It's a highly rare condition. I live on this side of the boat. It's never tidy.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you wanted to talk about some points that were raised from last week's video when we were talking about dead reckoning.
yes, mainly because a lot of our viewers said that we were not dead reckoning.
Yes, but there's a good reason for that. We were able to use the thumbnail but have the word dead reckoning in it. If we'd gone for YouTubers get a fix, we might not have attracted the audience we were looking for.
Absolutely not. But to clarify, what we were doing was getting a position fix, and dead reckoning is when you are out of sight of land. So you can't get a position fix, and you're basically going by...
Or rather, you have to use your last position fix and guess, well, I think I'm here now.
Exactly. So you've got one position fix and then you're guessing.
But this is the process that people used to use when they did do dead reckoning.
Yeah.
They took position fixes as much as they could, but once they were out of land, they just had to add the average boat speed on and hope they were about right and that the leeway wasn't too bad and the current wasn't working against them and the wind wasn't...
And that's why, of course, it was dead reckoning, because if you guessed wrong...
If you reckoned wrong,
you
were dead. Yep.
So that was the first point. The other point was a term that I used, which was reciprocal bearings. So what is a reciprocal bearing?
Well,
now,
before she complicates it, it's the one that's directly behind you. Simple as that. Basically, if you're facing a bearing, the reciprocal one's on your spine. It's behind you.
Yeah.
Like all good movie monsters.
It's behind you! So, to find a reciprocal is very easy. On the handheld compass, which I was using, you look through the prism and you can see the bearing. But on the other side is the reciprocals.
Okay, spoiler 101. When you look and things like that, don't turn round like that. Because it'll have a different bearing if you move it. If you take it away from your eye, to look at the reciprocal, you've got to look straight down.
Yeah, keep it in the same motion.
It's much easier just to add or subtract 180. It's not that hard to do.
No, it's much easier to use the ship's compass.
Yeah, the boat compass. So if you look at the boat compass upstairs, then the reciprocal bearing is just the edge of the compass nearest you, just whatever heading is between you and the orange line on the far side and the centre of the compass.
So that's the reciprocal. It's just like Bev says, it's the one behind
It's
you.
the one behind you. It's directly behind you. It's where you're coming from, not where you're going to.
Yeah.
Another little nice thing that's not often appreciated about this compass is if you hold it under a bright light and then take it out into the dark, the compass card glows. It's luminous. That's a very useful little feature.
Certainly is, and I've used that plenty of times. Another point was the ideal distance in angles between the bearings.
Yes, I said through no particular evidence or authority that really my ideal one is to have the marks that you take the position fixes off about 120 degrees apart. That way you can never get caught between two of them.
Yeah, I said 90.
If you have three marks 120 degrees apart, then they're all the maximum distance from each other, because that's the maximum you can have three things apart on a compass. So hopefully that will give you a good intersection and a good position. If you've got one of them that's nearly behind you and one of them that's nearly in front of you, it's not going to be a good intersection for that.
But mainly what you need to do is you take the bearings first of the ones that's furthest away from you, because they're not moving very quickly.
Yes, that bearing will change the slowest.
So take the bearing on the one that's not moving the most, and then the last bearing should be the one that's to the side of you, because that's the one that's going to be moving the most. We've talked about getting a fix, but isn't it so wonderful that we have GPS? Because, of course, the problem with a position fix is fog or poor conditions.
Or you're just miles out.
Or you're miles out.
I mean, miles out at sea, not miles out on your fix.
Yeah, miles out. Yeah.
Both can be true at the same time.
True. But if the conditions are bad, you're not going to get a position fix. However, we are so lucky and we have GPS.
And after last week, I think Gainer's a real fan
of GPS.
Of cockpit automation in general.
I certainly am a real fan of GPS.
I mean, that wonderful device up there, it gives you courses to steer, it gives you bearings to objects, it gives you bearing lines to look down. It records the wind for the last hour, the wind angle. It's a great piece of kit.
Having all that information ready is absolutely fantastic.
In days of yore, like, sailors would have killed for stuff. That would have been a state secret. Of course, they didn't have any GPS satellites, so it wouldn't have been a lot of use to them. But, you know,
we are lucky we have GPS. But on Salty Lass, we have not just one GPS position. We've got several pieces of equipment that gives us GPS.
Yeah, they all have the same flaw.
They certainly do.
They're connected to the boat's 12-volt system. So if the boat's 12-volt system ever goes, we lose all the GPSs.
However, we do have the phone's GPS.
We do have the phone GPS, and while phone GPSs are good and quite accurate, they do have some rather alarming limitations. Firstly, if you don't have Wi-Fi networks enabled, they put a little warning up to say, "Woo! If you let me connect to Wi-Fi networks, I'll be more accurate." Fair enough, not a lot of Wi-Fi out at sea, but there you go. The next thing that is quite alarming about them is they have a tendency to make assumptions. Like one day, we were sailing quite happily down the Mersey, and I looked at something on Google Maps on my phone, and it showed me driving down the nearest road to the Mersey, because of course the phone assumes that you're in your car, or something like that. If you're not standing still, if you're in something that's moving, you're probably in a car or a bicycle or something like that. So it looks around for a road and says, well, must be there then, and puts you on the road. So that can be a little disconcerting. I've been on trains moving at 125 miles an hour, and that really confuses the phone. Sometimes it just doesn't even try at all, and other times it once again looks for roads to put you on. It never seems to put you on the train.
However, if you do want your GPS position, the great way of doing it is to get your phone, obviously put your position on, and then all you have to do is tap on the
blue dot.
On the blue dot, which is where you've been placed, and it will actually give you your GPS position.
I'm hoping you haven't demagnetized the hand bearing compass because it was set on top of your phone.
Well, hopefully not. However,
it's still pointing north.
Oh, good, fair enough. Yeah, so you just have to tap the blue dot and it'll give you GPS position. So the only problem with the GPS position that you have on your phone is it's in decimal places. However, there is a simple maths trick to get the right GPS.
Check the position it gives you, throw the bit away in front of the decimals, multiply by 60, and that will be the minutes part of your latitude or longitude. So, as you can see on the example here shown on the screen, if you just take the 54, throw it away, multiply by 60, you will get, hopefully, about 39 point something. That is your latitude in this location that I'm in at the minute. So that's all you need to do to convert from one to the other. You'll see the boat instruments tend to have degrees and then minutes. That's the conversion. Just throw the decimals away, multiply by 60.
Yeah, and one of our pieces of kit actually shows the number of satellites it looks for.
The more satellites your device listens to, the more accurate it gets.
Yeah.
But the signals are very, very, very weak. And sometimes just being inside is enough to block them. So, you know, bad weather, storm conditions, electrical interference. However, all these wonderful things come with a warning. And it's a pretty big warning. And that is, never trust the darn things. Sometimes people spoofs GPS. I have seen boats in the Clyde sitting on top of mountains inland because somebody's messing with the GPS. Always trust the Mark 1 eyeball. Always make sure, no matter what your navigation method is, paper chart, spread reckoning, GPS, doesn't matter. Always make sure that what is out the window is what's in front of you on the chart, the phone or whatever, because it might not be. The charts can be wrong. Things like whole frigates and destroyers have wound up on reefs because the chart was wrong. The classic's got to be Team Vestas Wind, who, going around the world, rammed their boat up onto a reef. Wonderful piece of manoeuvre. The American minesweeper that drove itself onto a reef when the lookout said, there's a lighthouse in front of us, and the skipper says, well, there's nothing on the chart, we keep going. I think that skipper's got a new career, by the way.
Yeah, but the thing is, in the one, it was the fact that the chart they was using didn't have the high accuracy, and you have to have high accuracy to find out anything. And if you haven't got good accuracy,
to be fair to the Team Vestas Wind Brigade, they were doing this in pitch blackness.
That is true, and but they were using a chart that didn't have the accuracy, so
and they were cutting a corner on a reef very close.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it myself, but that's just me.
Well, the rest of the racing fleet didn't do it either.
Well, that is true. But
it is what it is.
It is.
We mentioned in last week's video, and can't remember if we mentioned it earlier, but we did talk about alternate ways of navigating. Transit lines. We did mention that we had a transit line that we were using to get to our first bearing, our first waypoint. But they are a thing in themselves, transit lines and leading lines, and personally, they're my favourite.
If you can get onto a transit line, that just helps you steer, because what you're able to do with the transit line is see straight in front of you, and you basically, you're not looking at any instruments, you're using the Mark 1 eyeball, and you're just going for it. Another great example of when we used a transit line was in the Rock Channel at Liverpool, and there what we did was we lined up a steeple between two sets of flats.
Well, they call it a copper dome. It's more a dome than a steeple.
Well, that's true. It is more of a dome. So, but that was a good transit, wasn't it? Yes, it was. It was a dome. Okay.
It's a great transit because you can see it from miles out at sea.
Yeah, so if you're coming in over the Rock Channel, you can use it. And if you're going out, you can still use it because it's not that difficult to see.
You know when you're lined up on it.
Yeah. And, okay, you're having to look behind you, but it's not too bad.
Well,
I hope you find this episode useful. We will be continuing with our Yachtmaster, but we'll also hopefully get some other sailing in. Because, you know me, I'd rather be sailing. But at least it's good to get the theory done as well.